It was October 18. Abu Dhabi was completely full of people from lots and different places that were fans from two different and important soccer teams. Fight games, fight goes, between fans from both sides. All hotels around the stadium were completely full. This place was a complete disaster. It was full of people around and not normal people. They were in a complete party because of the amazing show it was to happen at 7 p.m. This was the exact moment where two amazing soccer teams were going to face each other. On this important day, it was the final of the important soccer tournament called the Club World Cup. On this competition, about 32 teams participate, and then it comes the group stages where finalists are chosen. One of the finalists was Atlético Nacional because this team in the past won another tournament called La Copa Libertadores, and this achievement gave them a place in the World Cup of Clubs, where they needed to fight lots of important teams like Barcelona, Milan, Juventus, Paris Saint-Germain, Bayern, etc. The other finalist was one of the best soccer teams in the whole history of soccer, and this team was Juventus. This team was called the Galactic Team because it had one of the best squad that soccer could have. The squad was formed by players like Cristiano Ronaldo, Paul Pogba, Van der Sar, Carles Puyol, Sergio Ramos, Andrea Pirlo, Lionel Messi, Carrick, etc. This squad cost an impossible amount of money because these players were in the best time of their whole careers, and since the last 2 years they had been winning all the possible soccer tournaments. They had been beating all the existing records. 2 days before both teams traveled to Abu Dhabi, the place of the final. They arrived at different hours because of the length of each flight. Almost all teams made always the opposite things, like for example, they both stayed at different hotels, they traveled at different hours of the day, they arrived at different days, and some special facts like this. Juventus always had the best things because they stayed at the best hotel and fly in the best airline, while Atlético Nacional stayed in some good places, but they did not have the same comfort and luxuries as Juventus had. One day before, this day was really important because all of the players needed to be very relaxed and rested because you will have an easy soccer training, so they recognize the field. Obviously, the teams did it at different hours of the day. Now the moment of the truth came. All the players arrived at the fantastic stadium, because in this stadium about 8 different sports may be played, thanks to a special machine takes out different fields. For example, they were going to play soccer and you just pull a button and from the underground it came out until the floor level. They entered the dressing rooms at the stadium. In this place both teams changed themselves, made a hard and intense warm-up. They also gathered together to pray for God so they could have a nice game with no injuries, fights, or a problem that could affect the match. In Juventus' dressing room, the squad was more calm and relaxed because they were believing themselves kind of the best ones, and they were, but you should never despise your own rival as all Juve players were doing. Instead, in Atlético Nacional dressing room, there were lots of nervous players. It was completely hot and the floor was full of sweat from the 11 starters. They were really motivated, warming up because if they won, they would make history to be the first team in the world that wins Juventus in almost the last decade. Both teams, there were two players that were special. They were special because they were really good and they were captains. That gave us to understand that these two players are the best from all the rest team members. These two soccer players are called Sergio Ramos, which is from Juventus, and Alexis Enriquez, that plays for Atlético Nacional. They both played together in the past when they were just starting their professional careers as soccer players, so they know each other really good. And since they played together, that is like 15 years ago, they had not seen each other. Now it is 6:50 p.m. and the 11 starters from each of the teams were ready to go out the field and give everything from them so they could win the match. At the moment they started walking to go out the field, Sergio and Alexis saw each other, and they both were in the first line and they both started talking. All players got into their positions and the initial whistle sounded. Juventus managed all the first half, but Atletico Nacional goalkeeper was incredible and left the first half 0-0. Juventus players entered the dressing room and immediately they lay down on the floor and waited for the kinesiology group to inject each of the players. While the players were getting their injection, one referee passed through Juventus' dressing room, and immediately he saw the players were getting injected. He tried to enter, but FIFA members did not let him pass. He started to suspect something was going wrong, and the referee told his other colleagues what he saw, and they were like, "That is impossible, they were injecting the players, something has to be wrong, or something to be able to make others fall easily." Second half started. The stadium was completely hot and there was an environment where Nacional fans were very happy because they were getting tight. And Juventus fans were like, "Oh, we are completely sure in this half we are going to win." People were yelling, insulting each other, talking about who was going to win. 10 minutes later, Juve players started to show some strange attitudes, and they started to be much more stronger, because they didn't move when other players came to hit them. Instead, they bounced on each Juve players. All of them became like some monsters that had super special powers to run, take the ball from other team. They became very strong. The second half finished and the match finished 5-0 in favor of Juventus. They were completely invisible. Soon as the teams came back to the dressing room, some FIFA agents came into it and immediately asked for some tests of anti-doping, and if they were positive in more than half of the team, the match gets cancelled and the winner is the one that does not have any doped player because of fair play. As they say, cheating gets out. And it happened in this case because by more than Juventus won 5-0, all of the squad gave positive, and this is not accepted by FIFA, and any player in Atlético Nacional gave positive in the test. Last, we could deduce who is the real winner, and that's it. Until here, the record of Juventus came because all of their players were sanctioned because of injected steroids in sports.